Thank you very much. Thank you.
Okay, we're on 34A3. We're on the bottom of the page, 34A3. The Gemara was talking about that there were certain things, certain items that the name changed. The name changed, and it's important to know what is the real thing. Like the Gemara said that an arava, we used to call an arava. When the Beit HaMikdash was destroyed, they stopped calling it arava. They called it something else. And we said let's say there's something called a type of willow that doesn't have the characteristic traits of an arava. Its leaves aren't narrow, the leaves are wide, the stem is white, and we said that and also its edges are serrated. That is not a kosher arava. And a kosher arava typically has the leaf is smooth. There's no indentation, no nicks, it's not serrated at all. Its leaves are long and narrow, and its stem is red. Those are the typical. But what they did was, when the Beit HaMikdash was destroyed, people started calling the not kosher arava an arava, and they called the not kosher because it doesn't have the characteristic traits of an arava. The Torah says arvi nachal. The Torah says it's an arava that grows by a brook, and it doesn't have to grow only by a brook. But that type of arava that grows by the brook, that the Torah, the willow of the Torah, right? The Torah says you have to take a willow. It says a willow that grows by the brook. It has certain types of character traits. But what is that willow? There's other willows that grow. There's other like similar green type of type of things. So the question for that, very good. For the lulav, we take we had dasim, and we have the etrog and the lulav, and we have to have aravo. You have to have the willow. If you don't have the willow, you don't. All four. You must have all four species in order to fill the mitzvah of the lulav. Correct? And the Gemara identified the willow. What are the character traits of a willow that's kosher? Not all types of things that maybe that's in that family are kosher. There are certain types of species that are not kosher because they don't have the makeup of a willow. And what's the makeup of a willow? We'll have a little show and tell. If you look at this leaf over here, you see this leaf, the edge is smooth. It's not serrated, it's smooth. You can run your nail across it and it won't get caught. Smooth. Also, it's long and it's narrow. See how it's not round. It's not a round fat, wide. It's not wide. It's not round. The stem is red. That is the type of item that when the Torah says a willow, you have to take a willow for your lulav. That is the type of what it has to be. But if it doesn't have and the Gemara is going to say, if it doesn't have those character traits, let's say if it's wide. Morning, Simon. If the willow, if the leaf is wide, that's not kosher for the arava. Man, just like we have certain specifications for the myrtle. But yeah, by looking at it, by identifying the characters, this is the willow of the Torah that the Torah is requiring you, and if not, it's not kosher. Just like the myrtle, just like the hadassim, we said if it's not coming out three leaves from the same spot, we said that then you're getting into issues that it might not be kosher because it's not a hadas. It's not the myrtle of the Torah. There's two leaves coming out and then one leaf, and not three coming on the same line. We said that's a problem. So there are certain specifications that are required to fulfill the responsibility of what's called the willow of the Torah, the arava that you need to have, and certain specifications for what's called the myrtle, the hadassim of the Torah. But the Gemara said, interesting, that they changed the name, that when the Beit HaMikdash was destroyed, they instead of referring to this as an arava, they referred to it as the other item, the other one that's not kosher. They started calling this a different name. And the one that's not kosher, they called it an arava. They switched the naming. And therefore you need to know, because you're going to go into a store when the Beit HaMikdash, they give me the wrong one. Now the question is, why did they switch the name? So one of the commentators says a fascinating idea. Why did they switch the name? Because in the time of the Beit HaMikdash, they would take the arava not only for the lulav, right? There was two, we had a Gemara that says arvei nachal, plural. There was two types of mitzvot that had to do with the arava in the Beit HaMikdash. One was the mitzvah that we take it with the lulav, right? We take the lulav, the etrog, the hadasim, and the aravot. That's what we all do. But there was a special mitzvah in the Beit HaMikdash, right, and they would go around the mizbeach every day. They would walk around the mizbeach. They would place the aravot. They would wave the aravot, and they would place the aravot by the sides of the mizbeach. There was such a halacha Moshe Sinai that you have to go ahead and walk around the mizbeach. You go to the right usually. You walk around the mizbeach with that aravot, just that aravot in your hand. But now the Beit HaMikdash was destroyed only on Sukkot. But now the Beit HaMikdash was destroyed. So because they felt the pain of not having the Beit HaMikdash, they didn't want to call the arava anymore an arava. It's like it lost its name. They instead of calling the arava, they called the arava the other type of the other name of the other item. And the other item that was not the kosher arava, now they call that an arava. Just to recognize the pain that we don't have aravot today, so they even lost its name, lost its identity. So that's what the Gemara was saying. So you need to know, like Mr. Haber said, that you're going to ask for arava, they're going to give you the wrong thing. You need to know what's now. So the Gemara now says that there have been other things that also you need to know that the name has changed, and it's what we have subsequently. The original name came back. So today, if you go into the store, you want Yesva Aravot, they give you the right Aravot. They give you, but there was a time period in history which seemed to be in the early period of the destruction of the Beit HaMikdash, when people felt that loss, that pain more. It was more evident that we don't have that mitzvah that we used to have, that we used to go around the Mizbeach every day with that Ravot, and we don't have it. It lost its name. They changed its name. So imagine if I gave you the example, Pepsi, Diet Coke, and Coke. They changed it from Coke, they call it Diet. From Diet, they call Coke. It's not the same, because we don't have the real Coke anymore. We're going to call the Coke Diet Coke, and the Diet Coke we're going to call Coke. We don't have it just to feel. So the Gemara is saying that phenomenon, that certain things have changed its name, and there's ramifications, because you have to know what you're buying. You have to know if you're using the right thing. We find also regarding another subject regarding the name Bavel, something regarding Bavel and Bursif. Bavel and Bursif, these are two different places. Bavel is Babylon. Babylon is called Talmud Bavli. Talmud Bavli was really in Iraq. That's where the rabbis were. They formulated the Talmud. It's called Talmud Bavli. You want to Gary. So the Gemara says that Bavel, the country of Bavel, there was a place near Bavel called Bursif. And Bursif, and there was a change of the name. Bavel, that used to be Bavel, what we used to call Bavel, Iraq area, they started calling Bursif. And what was Bursif, they started calling Bavel. They changed the name changes. Sometimes you have countries that change their names, right? Renaming, right, Gary? They change their names, especially in Russia and all these type of St. Petersburg, right? I think there's a lot of places, things that change names. So the Gemara says, what do we got to tell you about the changing of the name of Bavel is now called Borsif. Borsif is called Bavel because it was a very important halacha regarding a get, a Jewish divorce. What was the very important halacha? Gary, if you want the Gemara, it's there. Also, you want to do the old-fashioned style. Okay. Torah Shebal Peh, the oral law. The original. So the Mishnah says in Gittin, someone brings a get in Israel. In Israel, you bring a get, a person delivers a get, he delivers the get to the wife. But if a guy brings a get from America, from other countries, the rabbis were very concerned that what could happen. The guy goes and let's say he brings the get from America to the Holy Land. Then the husband says, you know what? The get is forged. Either the husband wants to make trouble, or he really believes it's forged. I don't believe, you said this get, you claim the woman has the get in her hand. She comes with a document. She says, "Look, I'm divorced." The husband says, "I never. Those it's never happened. Someone's forged somebody's signatures on this thing. It was never signed by proper people." So now, what do you do? So really, you're supposed to have two witnesses to verify. We recognize these signatures. These are legit signatures. If it's legit signatures, then the document is verified, and it's a legit document like any other document, right? How do you, if someone comes with it says IOU or whatever, there's witnesses on a loan on a document. Is it forged? Maybe it's forged. There are people most probably that forge documents. We all know there are people that forge documents, right? In business, right? You've seen people forge documents, correct? Heard of stories like that. So what do you do? But if you verify the signatures, then it's a legit document. But how do you verify the signatures? It's going to take time. If the document originated in America, and the lady's in Israel, and the husband is claiming now she has to get in her hand, and how you have to verify the signature? It's a difficult thing. So you know what the rabbi said? That the guy who delivers the bill of divorce, when he delivers it, he has to go in front of maybe 2 or 3 people to see the Gemara discuss it, and he himself will verify the document. The messenger, not the Uber's Eats people, but a Jewish person who's delivering the document, he will verify it. And the Gemara discusses the issue. How do you believe one witness? He's only one man. The Gemara deals with that issue. But the point is, that person who delivers the get, he will verify it. Is that clear? Now, there's another concern. Even if he doesn't verify, even if the husband doesn't claim anything that it's forged, there's a concern that people outside of Israel might not know how to properly write a Jewish bill of divorce. They might not write it right, but it has to be written with certain intent, the Shema. They're writing, the person's writing the document is having in mind for this man, for this woman, not that he wrote the bill of divorce and just filled in the name at the end. When it wasn't written, with the right, let's say they'll write a standard get. They'll put the name Ruvain in, Shimon in, and Rachel, and it happened to be that they used the same get that was written for someone else, and they're using it for him because they both have the same names. You can't use that. It has to be written for this person, for this man, for this woman. So because the people outside of Israel might not be knowledgeable in those how you're supposed to write it, so therefore to know that it was written right, the messenger would verify that fact. He would say it was written in front of me, it was signed in front of me, it was written, it was done right. It was done with the right according to the law. Just like when someone writes your tefillin, your mezuzah, has to be written properly, right? If you have someone who doesn't write it with the proper intention, it's not a valid not a valid mezuzah. So that is the general rule. But in Eretz Israel, in Israel, if someone would bring, if some people are in Israel and a bill of divorce came from in the land of Israel. It's in the land. It was written in the land of Israel. It was not coming from overseas. Everything was within the country of Israel. The messenger doesn't have to say anything. Why doesn't he have to say anything? Because something that's written, the people in Israel, they know, they're learned. They're more learned than outside of Israel. They know how to write the document. You don't have to worry about that the document wasn't written well because they're learning the top of the game. And what about the other issue that, what about verifying the get, verifying maybe the husband will claim was forged, and how is the woman going to verify the witnesses? So the answer is because people are always going to 3 times a year, people are coming to the Beit HaMikdash, the Ola Regel. So there's always people coming and going from that wherever town in Israel it was in Haifa, Ashkelon, wherever they get the document states the city where it was written, where it came from. There are always people coming and going from those places in the land of Israel because it's a place that people are always going, moving around because they all come to the Beit HaMikdash 3 times a year. So there's always be witnesses that could be available to verify the document. In contrast to outside of Israel, there are people that not always coming to Israel. About the mitzvah of Ola Regel would seem to be that the people who live in Israel have to go to the Beit HaMikdash. People who don't live in Israel, the person lived in far away from Israel, outside of Israel. He didn't have the responsibility to make that pilgrimage, go to Israel 3 times a year. I mean, people can live, how far could people could live? Who knows how far away from Israel, right? He didn't have that obligation. But if you live in Israel, you have to go ahead. You live in Eretz Israel, you have to go to the Beit HaMikdash. But there's another interesting halacha that if the get came from Bavel, from Babylon to Israel, they have the same status as being a get written in Israel. Bavel to Israel is like Israel itself. Why? Because Bavel was that was the house of Torah study. It's called Talmud Bavli, right? It was two major centers of Torah, was like we have today, if you want to say America and Israel, right? Two tremendous centers of Torah. There was Bavel in Israel. And the people in Bavel, the scribes who wrote documents for divorce, they were learned. They were the influence of all the scholars. There was other people that were scribes and they were learned, and maybe some of the scholars themselves were scribes. And therefore, what's the expression? You could bet your bottom dollar that it was done right. You don't have to be concerned that they didn't write it properly. And also, what about the other issue? Where are they going to be witnesses to verify the signatures? The bill of divorce comes from Bavel to Israel. She's in Israel. She's holding the document. The husband might claim it was forged. Who's verifying it? The answer is there was a constant transportation between Israel and Bavel. The people from Bavel would come to study in Israel. People in Israel would come to study in Bavel. There was always, Israel was like the place to go. That was tremendous place of Torah study from the greatest rabbis that were there. And they would, as you have in the Gemara all the time, that Rabbi Yochanan was in Israel. And when the rabbi came down back from Israel to Bavel, he reports what he heard in Israel, right? He reports about his Torah study that he learned in Israel. So therefore, there's always witnesses to verify the document, even if it started from Bavel and it came from Bavel to Iraq to Israel. There was always, you don't have to verify. A messenger who brings a document does not have to has no requirement to verify it, but there will always be availability to verify it. But you have to know, but today, what we call Bavel at that time, when the Beit HaMikdash was destroyed, they would refer to it, they changed its name. They called it Borsif. And Borsif, what was once known as Borsif, was known as Bavel. So if a person comes and says, you know what, does a person today, do we have, if a person brings a get from Bavel, does he have to go ahead and say, verify it? The answer is, if Bavel is no longer the real Bavel, Bavel is really Borsif. So Borsif is the place next to Iraq. They're not learned like Bavel. So if you're bringing a get from Bavel today, Bavel is really Borsif, you must verify that get. And if a person would be coming from Borsif, today they call Borsif, do I have to verify it? You don't have to verify it, because Borsif is really Iraq, is really Bavel. And therefore, it has the status of the Bavel, what it was before. So that's what the Gemara says. Now the Gemara says in the bottom, Amar Rabba Bar Yosef, Afani Omer. I also say there is another case of a changing of the name, which has significant ramifications. In whether this place you have to verify it or not. So, because now what was once called Bavel is called Borsif. So now you have to know if a person says, if a person goes ahead and he says, I'm bringing a document from Bavel. Do I have to verify the document? So you need to know Bavel is not really Bavel. Bavel now is really Borsif, because what was once Bavel is now called Borsif. So Borsif, if it's Borsif, today Borsif, you would not have to verify because it's Bavel. But if a person says, I'm bringing a get from Bavel, Bavel is no longer Bavel, it's Borsif. So if he says, I'm bringing a get from Bavel, he's really bringing it from Borsif, and they would have to verify the get. So L'may nafkamina, the Gemara says, now we're turning the page for 34b, the Gite Nashim, regarding the divorce of a woman. So now today, if a person says, I'm bringing a get from Bavel, do I have to go ahead and verify it? Someone comes to the Holy Land, so we say yes. If you bring it from Bavel today, because Bavel is no longer Bavel. Bavel is really Borsif. And Borsif, they're not learned, and therefore we need to know that it was done right. Is it clear, everybody? So today, Borsif would be Bavel, and Bavel you're fine. Then he has to verify it. Right. Right. That's not Bavel.
Is the learned area, so someone has to specifically say that they brought it from Borsif.
Right. Today's it used to be, meaning it's like a guy. America was, let's say, New York. I'll say, but that's not a good example. But if America would be called a different name, right? So you have to go by the name that it's called, and then you take different countries now has the name America. So that's not America. What used to be America, that country has its name. So therefore, let's say this place was called Bavel. Bavel did not have to verify it. But now this place is called Borsif. The same place now, instead of being called Bavel, so then Borsif does not have to verify it. But a place that no, so what was what was Bavel beforehand was renamed. They renamed Bavel to Borsif. So he said that because the new name, what's the new name? Okay, for Bavel is called Borsif, but Borsif is called Bavel. So now what happened was Bavel, the name of Bavel, now Borsif, that was once Borsif, that area of the world, that country was Borsif, that location in the north is now called Bavel. That same place, same people. Nothing changed in the place. The only thing that changed is the name. Because
what we're doing is saying this shul was named Beit something. Now the shul is named Beit Yaakov. Same learned people, same thing. Now the document's coming from Beit Yaakov. Doesn't have to be verified. It's the same people.
Right.
Why is saying
right. But so you're right. So what we used to be called Bavel, if this place was called Bavel, and they will learn it, didn't have to verify it. Now it's called Borsif. I don't have to verify it. You're correct. But what about that other place, not this place?
Now, the old name, right, I used it. It doesn't exist anymore. It was replaced with the new name.
Right, but the old name, but what happened was this name, Bavel, that was this place was Bavel. Now this name is being used in another place. That's what's happening. That's what's happening. Because it was a switch. The place that was called Borsif is now called Bavel. Sorry if it wasn't clear. The place that was called Bavel is now called Borsif. And now that changed, now you gotta know that. Yes. Morning, Aaron. Good to see you. Welcome back. Right. 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 But there's usually there's a connection, right? There's a connection. So right. The connection was because the Gemara said that we have the similar phenomenon when it came to Arava. When the Arava, the willow, they stopped calling the willow. They stopped calling it Arava. The kosher species, they stopped calling it Arava. They gave it a different name. You need to know what is the right name, which is the kosher species. It's not about the name of the species, it's about what it is. Torah has a certain type of item. So if today you go into a store and you ask for, in those days when the Beit HaMikdash was destroyed, when you would ask for Arava, they gave you a not kosher thing because they changed the name. Arava, what was once an Arava, once the kosher species, they gave it a different name. It lost its name. And the not kosher species, what was known as the not kosher species, that's what they would give. They would give the actual Arava. So when it came when it came to Arava, it seems there was an intentional reason why, and a few of those things that specifically when the Beit HaMikdash was destroyed, they felt the pain of the Beit HaMikdash being destroyed, that things have been upside down. We don't have what we used to have, so we don't want to call this an Arava anymore. You hear that, everybody? They didn't want to call it Arava. They changed its name because with such sadness that we can't perform the mitzvah in the Beit HaMikdash of walking around the altar, the Mizbeach, and waving the Arava and placing the Arava on the side of the Mizbeach because the Beit HaMikdash was destroyed. They changed its name. Gary, is that a fascinating thing? They wanted to mourn the fact that they felt so bad that they don't have the Arava anymore in the Beit HaMikdash. They changed its name. They called it something else because it lost its honor. So its name has changed. And the one that was the not kosher one, they called the Arava. And the kosher one, they called the name that was not it used to be known as the not kosher one. So the Hebrew was done with an intention. Because they felt the pain. It's not clear how long that was for. It would seem it went on for a few years immediately after the destruction of the Beit HaMikdash. And I presume, because it says when the Beit HaMikdash was destroyed, that's when the name changed. But I presume as time went on, they went back. Could be, Mr. Haber, that the people felt that there was a confusion. And maybe because of the confusion, it might make sense that they went back to the original names. No. So right. So there are different cases. One case was the Arava. Eventually, they decided to go back to the original, the way. Now, if you go into a store and you ask for Arava, they'll give you a kosher Arava. The documents is a different. The documents was a. No. Right. So regarding that, therefore the Gemara wants you to be aware and know when you go into a store and you ask for a rava, there's been a change in what's called an rava. The non-learned person might not know about the details of the characteristics, what an arava has to look like, that it's supposed to be long and narrow, shouldn't be wide. So therefore, it's important to know today, if you call it, no, he's selling the wrong arava. He said, no, so what he shouldn't be selling, right? But again, you might go to a market and people might buy arava for other things, whether for the mitzvah or other things. You need to know when you go into a store and you say you want an arava, you need to know, are they giving you a kosher arava or not? Because if the name changed, they're not giving you go and you say, I want to buy an etrog. Then they're not going to give you a lemon. It's an etrog. But if the name etrog changed to lemon, and lemon is an etrog, so if you go in and you ask for an etrog and they give you a lemon, so you're in trouble, right? Because you're not getting the mitzvah. It's called Rabbi. What do you mean? It's called etrog, but it's not an etrog. It's what you call today an etrog. Right. So right. But I'm saying right because they have to know. If we say by etrog, morning boss, we want to see you. By etrog, you have to have a tradition to know that this was planted properly. It wasn't grafted. That's why it's very important who you buy an etrog from. Has to have proper supervision on the etrog. But imagine if the whole world would, if in the world in the markets, an etrog, if you would ask for an etrog, they will give you a lemon, and when you ask for a lemon, they'll give you an etrog. Imagine that will happen. So then you have to, well, so then you what? Right. So then you would not fulfill the mitzvah. If I ask for an etrog and they give me a lemon, meaning it's not that they're tricking me. It's not a question, Mr. Haber, that people are trying to trick me. That the world, the way they refer to things today, when you ask for an etrog, if the world gives you a lemon, that's what etrog means. And when you ask for a lemon, they're going to give you a what? An etrog. So you got to be careful what you're going to ask for. And when it comes to holiday of Sukkot, you should ask for a lemon, because that's an etrog. If the lemon became what is an etrog. Right. So the Gemara wants to say, they want to make it there shouldn't be any confusion, because you need to know how today they refer to the item, and therefore, what you say? What say? Today's day and age, if you ask for arava, you get a kosher arava. But when the Beit Hamikdash was destroyed, if you would ask for arava, they would give you something that's not kosher, not the kosher willow. They would give you a different type of willow that was why, not because they're trying to trick you, because when the Beit Hamikdash got destroyed, the name arava was removed from the willow, because Boaz was saying, because they felt the pain of not having the aravot anymore that they were using walking around the mizbeach in the Beit Hamikdash. So they took away the name. They renamed it. It lost its great name, and they would call it something like the Succah, a different name, whatever the Gemara gives a name, they call it. And the thing that was once called the willow that was not kosher, that had wide leaves, white stem, serrated, not smooth, they called that an arava. Like the world is upside down, but the Beit HaMikdash is destroyed. You feel the pain. They renamed certain things, and you got to be aware of what's going on. You got to know that there was a renaming. If you don't know there's a renaming, you're going to do the wrong thing. And then the Gemara also says there's business ramifications. I make up with you. I want to buy 1,000 aravot. So at that time period, you need to know aravot is no longer what we refer to as this, as the willow, the kosher willow. The arava is the serrated thing. It has the wide leaves. So therefore, when you ask for arava, the deal was made on that other type. But that's how the world is referring to it. So a lot of times, the fact that it used to be called arava, but if today that's not longer called an arava, So if you ask for Arava, you get what the world understands today, the new name on Arava. Like I gave you an example, Coke and Diet Coke, right? If they will switch the name that Coke is now Diet Coke and Diet Coke is Coke. So if you ask for a Coke, you got to get Diet Coke if the name was switched, right? If Diet Coke became Coke, so if I made up to buy Diet Coke, that means I want the Coke product. Because if Diet Coke is now called Coke. So that's what we need to understand. I want to wish everyone a beautiful day. Time flies when you're having fun. What'd you say? Right? That's true. If we daven properly, Boaz. But a davening, a prayer with kavana will get gold. We'll get gold back as a result of that. One area. Have a great day, everybody. The intent was not to create confusion, but it could be that people were confused. Because you know what? Not everybody recognized the change of names properly. And maybe that could explain why it went back, Mr. Haber, to the old name. The people. It sounds like the Jewish people themselves, out of pain, but not having the opportunity to do the mitzvah Arava properly, they said, we don't want to call it Arava anymore. This week, you know what? They renamed it. They feel it's not able to be used properly as an Arava in its proper state. We're not calling it Arava. We're calling this something else. But we're not going to drop the name Arava over. Bavel and the countries change names. Right. So unless you bring back the old name, it could be that. Right. Something else. He asked for a ravot, and he got something else.